In a dark, scary forest, hidden within the hollow of an ancient scary tree, 3 Scary Fairies gather to discuss scary movies. This week's feature is a recent tale from 2024, or depending on who you ask, 2025, entitled The Damned. Now, let's meet our fairy hosts.
I'm Evan. If you're going to sail in my waters, watch out for my teeth.
Hi, I'm Hannah. If I don't speak your language, I will burn you up.
Hi, I'm Matty. If you let this ship sink, I'll Draugar you to hell. And we are
The Scary Fairies.
Hello, fellow fairy friends. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, fairies.
How's everybody doing?
How's it going?
Going good.
Yeah.
Why don't we start off talking about some horror stuff from this past week that we've experienced in a segment I am titling It Came from the Queue.
It came from the queue.
Title pending. We can work on it. I thought that was clever.
Yeah.
I like
good.
it. I
Okay.
think it's good.
Yeah.
All right. I'll start. So I read this really good short comic series called Plastic, which is about a serial killer, a kind of a reformed serial killer. He stopped serial killing because he met the love of his life, who ends up getting kidnapped in the first issue, and he's trying to get her back. But the twist is that she is a sex doll. It's really good. It's very dark and horror-y, but also very funny. It's kind of like a horror John Wick. So that was good. And then, based on your recommendation, Evan, I started the TV show Evil. I'm about like 4 or 5 episodes in.
Uh-huh.
I like it. After the first 2 episodes, I was like, this isn't as like horror adjacent as I thought it was going to be. But then it's getting more. It kind of feels like it's building up to it.
Yeah.
Because the first 2 episodes feel more like, we like Scooby-Doo. They unmask the person who it actually is.
It's not actually anything. Yeah.
Yeah, but it does seem like there is some real, genuine evil that's under the surface that we're going to learn more about. Like that guy from Lost is obviously some sort of evil person or thing.
Totally. And not to be the person that says things like this when people are starting TV shows, but you have to kind of stick with it. Because it gets insane in a way that's like, because I like similar. I was like, I'm enjoying this. It's fun. It's kind of like, it's a kind of procedural. It's fine, and then like towards the end of the first season, it like goes all in a way that's like, oh, cool. This is what this is.
Okay, yeah.
So definitely, I think stick with it if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll like that. The other thing I watched, which overlaps with Hannah, is the 2020 Invisible Man, which is the same director as The Wolfman, which we'll be watching next week. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I really liked it. I was definitely scared. High tension throughout the movie, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I sort of felt like it was not so much elevated horror, but an elevated B-movie. Like, it felt very B-movie, but also with kind of deeper themes.
Yeah. I was going to say, it seems too deep to be a B-movie, but it's very, like, I don't know, it has kind of cool sci-fi sort of themes to it, and I really like that about that movie. And I like how it talks about how, I don't know, it was like a bigger metaphor for what domestic violence is. It can be very invisible. I watched The Nightingale, which I was just kind of puttering around on Shudder, and I found that movie, and that was a disturbing, horrifying, sad tale. And I want to talk about it because it's just very triggering stuff for the podcast. It's not even, I wouldn't even call it a horror movie. Like, it was more of a drama.
Yeah.
With a lot of just disturbing things happening in it.
You texted me and Evan about it.
Yeah, I did.
And then I looked up the plot and I read the entire synopsis. And yeah, it doesn't sound like a horror movie. It just sounds very disturbing.
Yeah, it was just incredibly disturbing and really sad. As opposed to your next, which was kind of a rollick and a lot of fun and was like a I really enjoyed it. I don't want to spoil anything, but the ending was fantastic. Of your next VHS 85 was also really good. I watched that.
Have you seen all of them? All the VHSs?
No,
Okay.
A long
I've seen
time
the first
ago,
one, I think.
Yeah, I watched the first VHS a long time ago, and then I just started kind of getting back into the franchise, and I liked VHS 85, and then I also watched Cuckoo, which I enjoyed, and Ready or Not, but I went to sleep during Ready or Not, so I guess I can't really say that I watched that one.
Hannah, Ready or Not is so good. You have to rewatch it.
I gotta rewatch it. I really enjoyed it.
The ending is so good.
Definitely go back to it.
The best part. Yeah. I really liked where it was going. It was it wasn't grabbing my attention, but it was just, I was late and I was like,
totally
fighting sleep.
Well, my main one this week is I just the other day, actually, was it yesterday even, I bought it at a little bookstore. I bought this book called Horror Store. Basically the premise of the book is that it basically takes place at an IKEA. It's not IKEA, like they call it something else, but it's basically these workers at IKEA, and these weird things have been going on in the store, like things are being vandalized overnight, and stuff's going weird. So like a couple of the employees agree to stay overnight to catch whoever's doing it, quote unquote. So it's basically like a haunted house story in an IKEA, which is really fun premise. I'm only a couple chapters in, but it's fun. And then the book itself, it looks like an IKEA.
Like an IKEA
catalog, basically.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So just the design of it's really fun too, and also I just like the idea of like weird, kind of creepy abandoned places. When I worked at Disney for a bit, and I used to work the Halloween parties where they like pass out candy and they turn a bunch of the different places into Halloween trails. And one of them I worked was Mickey Mouse's house in Toontown. And if you're in Mickey Mouse's house by yourself, like kind of at night, like no one's around you, and like they turn off like the music in there, it's like the most creepy place you've ever been. So it made me think of that, basically. Like,
Evan, can we collaborate on a story about that?
Yeah, I'm down. Yeah. But no, like seriously, I was like getting really spooked in like just Mickey Mouse's house, like the line to go meet Mickey because nobody was around you, and it's really unsettling to be in a public place when no one's there.
Yeah, the horror store is Grady Hendrix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read one of his books, The Final Girl Support Group.
Okay, I've heard of that. I didn't know that was the same guy.
It was pretty good. It wasn't what I had expected.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel very horror-y.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I was looking forward to.
This one's a little more funny too. Like they're kind of horror comedies a little bit.
I like that aspect.
Yeah. But that's up my alley. I don't want to be too scared. I want to go to sleep at night. So that's good for me.
I also want to shout out, he has a book, I believe it's called Paperbacks from Hell, which is really, really good. And it chronicles an era of horror books when they would come out in paperback and people would like get them at train stations and for the plane and all that. You know, and some of the early ones were like The Omen and The Exorcist. Or those are some of the famous ones, but there were just like hundreds and hundreds of them, and he has this book that chronicles all of them and their amazing cover art.
Yeah.
So cool.
That's cool.
I've read a bunch of books that are recommended in that book. So let's move on to snowy Arctic horror movies, or just horror movies that kind of have the vibe that we get here with The Damned. I took the one that I thought everyone would think of immediately, because I think it's the most obvious, like in terms of a great snowy Arctic horror movie, and it's The Thing.
Yeah, that's kind of the
that's like the pinnacle, top of the mountain. Yeah, so I figured I might be stealing that from everyone else, but I figured I'd bring it up. The other ones, one that I really love but haven't watched in a while is 30 Days of Night.
It's the vampire one, right?
It's the vampire one in, I believe, Alaska.
Yeah.
And it is literally 30 Days of Night. They're about to have a cycle of all night, and a bunch of vampires come into town, and they got to survive for 30 days. Another one is Dead Snow, which is a movie I saw in London a long time ago, which is a Norwegian movie, and I think it's kind of a horror comedy, but it's like Cabin in the Woods, but Cabin in the Snow with zombie Nazis.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's always fun. And then another one I thought of that's kind of in a similar vein, but not quite as cut off from everything, is Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's one I thought of too. Kind of just the snowy vibes of
the
winter
very
and
white, snowy,
something
dark vibes.
bloody is going on. Yeah. And the other one I thought of, which is kind of a lot of different things, it's maybe more of a monster movie, is the movie Rare Exports.
That's a great one.
Yeah, which is also, always forget it. I'm very sorry to any Scandinavian folks that happen to listen to this, which country it's from. But I know it's in that region. If you haven't seen it, basically it's like a retelling of the Santa myth, but scary, and more kind of a creature thing where like Santas are basically like a species. It's like an insane premise, but really well done and really just something you've like never seen before. So I think that one's a really cool one.
Aren't they kind of like Krampuses?
Kind of, yeah. They're like elf Krampuses. Like, yeah, they're
because at least I don't want to spoil it, so I won't say anything. But yeah, I love that movie. I remember seeing. I've seen that movie a couple times, and I remember the first time I saw it, it was just kind of a thing I hadn't seen before.
And apparently, it's also one of Kate Blanchett's favorite movies, which is also something I really love about it. That's also a funny thing for me.
Hannah,
yeah.
What about you?
Well, this movie is not really a snowy Arctic movie. I think it is like sort of a people versus stark, horrible wilderness movie. The witch.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good in terms of people trying to eke out a survival from a sort of uncaring, beautiful but uncaring wilderness. In terms of snowy movies, I thought of The Shining. Pretty obvious. It takes place in a really isolated, snowy hotel that gets snowed in the mountains. Everybody knows what The Shining is about if you're... and Misery.
It's about finding one of the Easter eggs that Mark Rylance has left for you, if I remember. No, nobody watched Ready Player One. No, okay, fine.
Wait.
Watched Ready Player One. I don't remember that though.
No, I did not watch Ready Player One.
They go to The Shining in the movie, and that's one of the levels they go to.
Yeah, I do remember that now.
It's one of the shining legacies of The Shining. Is that movie?
I didn't remember that scene happened since I saw that scene happen.
Then you're welcome that I brought that back.
Misery is a really good one, Hannah. That's great because it's snowy, but also he can't get out of bed.
Yeah, he can't. Yeah, get out of bed and
stuck in the house.
And you're a cockadoodie and you're a poop.
I think that's the line that won her the Oscar, right?
Yeah. Cockadoodie.
All right, let's talk about this film, the film of the day, and it is The Damned, which came out in 2024, but really 2025. I'm going to say 2025. It's directed by Thorder Paulson, and apologies for anything I pronounce wrong this entire episode. This is his first full-length movie, but he has several short films, and he also created and directed some episodes of a show called The Valhalla Murders, which I believe is on Netflix. This movie was written by Jamie Hannigan. It stars Odessa Young, Joe Cole, Siobhan Finneran, and Rory McCann. And the music is by Stephen McKeon. Let me give a spoiler-free, real brief rundown real quick of what The Damned is. The Damned is a period horror film set in the 19th century, focusing on a widowed woman living in an isolated fishing outpost who faces a difficult decision when a ship sinks during a harsh winter, forcing her to choose between rescuing the shipwrecked or ensuring her own community's survival with limited food supplies. So my question for you two fairies is, did you like it?
I did. I liked it. I thought it was good.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it with some reservations. We'll get to it, but mostly the ending for me didn't fully click.
We're going to talk a lot about that ending.
That ending was
so like I was mostly
crazy.
vibing with it, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is like a serviceable. It's not blowing me away or anything. I'm not gonna put it at the top of my list. But I was like, I'm having a decent time. It's well done. It's well acted. It's an interesting idea. There's like a core dilemma here where it's like, do we save these people? Yes or no? And then it's the answer for them is no. And then the consequences of that.
Yeah.
And this kind of paranoia that similar to like The Thing that I like. Or the movie The Thing, that is. But yeah, like like there were the seeds of things there, but then to me, like the ending kind of took it down, like half a star for me. So overall, like I've definitely seen worse things this year, and I wasn't mad at it, but yeah, I had some reservations.
By this year, do you mean the last 14 days?
Okay, well, here's another thing, right? Is this a 2024 movie or 25? Because
I said,
yeah,
I consider it 2025,
yeah,
but it is technically 2024.
Yeah,
but it was released wide.
Yeah,
like I think if a film is released at a festival,
that's always rough. Where they're like, it
shouldn't be
places.
The year it counts as.
Yeah, but also then like we have like just now all the Oscar movies that are coming out that were released limited or at festivals, and those are 24. Yeah. It's a fine, it doesn't really matter.
It's a fine line.
Nerds like us.
I'm calling it 2025.
Yeah.
All right.
Hannah, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. It was a nice kind of popcorny movie for me. Definitely on the heels of Nosferatu, it was a step down for sure. I saw on Letterboxd that somebody said a review was we have Robert Eggers at home.
Yeah, I couldn't get that out of my head,
and I couldn't get that out of my head. And it was very that was my big reservation about giving this movie like 4 out of 5 stars. Was like, I feel like they could have done a little bit more to ground it in history. They could have done a little bit. I mean, they did what they could with what they had, and I think that's fine. I also thought it was very well acted. The ending was jarring and odd to me. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. I didn't think that enough, like Evan was saying, seeds were planted to kind of justify an ending twist like that. But yeah, there were parts of it that I really enjoyed. So I'm excited to talk more about it.
Yeah, I enjoyed a lot of it. I think I might watch it again someday, but it would have to be after a significant amount of time. And that for me is just because of how slow the movie is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it takes a bit of an effort, or at least it did for me, to pay attention. In fact, Hannah and I saw the movie together, and her wife, Emily, fell asleep during it.
Yeah.
On blast, Emily.
Yeah, Emily's on blast in this episode.
Yeah, don't mean to, I can cut that out.
No, leave it in.
Okay, leave it in. She'll love it.
But I think that's probably a reaction a lot of people would have to the movie, because it is very, very slow.
Paced, and definitely, methodically,
yeah. And it's very beautiful, but like Nosferatu, I feel like it's slow, but it's constantly keeping your mind occupied.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this movie will just give you a shot and sit on it, and not much is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Right. A big, stark white landscape.
Yeah, a lot of white.
Which is hard.
Lots of white.
Yeah.
This is a really white movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of... I should also say that I had a pretty bad crowd around me, like, which I probably didn't help. I just had, like, a couple of talkers next to me, and,
Oof.
So it was a little bit of a rough viewing for me. So that's probably docking a little bit of points from it. So not only, like you said, it's a little slow paced, it's a little taking its time. On top of that, I had some distracting people around me that were taking me a little bit out, especially towards the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, if the atmosphere gets disturbed in this movie, that kills a lot of what's enjoyable about it.
Yeah, we were lucky. We had kind of a very quiet crowd that mostly didn't talk.
Yeah, it was. I saw a movie last year around the same time, and it was one of the AMC secret movies, and it ended up being, what was it called? It's a movie about like early cave people, and the audience was terrible, and I kind of stopped going to those because of how bad the audience was for that movie. Because like people were laughing obnoxiously at parts like at the movie, not with the movie, and it just constantly, and it ruined the movie for me. I think I would have liked the movie better if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, it's rough when you get an audience like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Evan, you posed the question, what was the worst decision made by the characters?
Yeah.
Maybe just to not get into spoilers yet. Or maybe we can start, that can start our spoiler discussion. So from here on out, we're in spoiler territory.
On the alarm.
Warning, you are now entering spoiler territory.
Okay, so what do you two think was the worst decision made by the characters in the movie?
Oh, not listening to Helga at
yes. Good one. When she said, like, turn around the crates, bind their hands behind their back.
Yeah, not doing the ritual. I have not doing the ritual on my list of potential choices. Yeah.
That, I think, trying to take that watch was also a bad choice.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. He did. Yeah, that's right.
For me, with hindsight, because we'll talk about the choices made in this movie, but with hindsight, it was not saving the people on the boat. Because the next day, they catch a bunch of fish, and it would have probably been okay.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that.
I feel like with hindsight, that is probably the worst decision they made, but I'm not saying it was the wrong decision.
Maybe I'm a monster because I don't have that, but I have that maybe going back so soon was the mistake.
I think that was a mistake too.
Right? Yeah. Like, if you're not going to save them, that's terrible, right? Obviously. You should have saved them. But if you make that choice, it felt like, I know it wasn't 5 minutes later, but it almost felt like 5 minutes later. They're like, and we'll go back out.
It was immediately. It was the same day.
It was the same day. Like, they're all dead.
Yeah, they didn't wait a day, which obviously, it was like, maybe don't go back that quickly, because now they know that you could have saved them, and you're just pissing people off.
That is definitely a contender for worst decision.
Oh, I was going to say the biggest mistake, and what my letterbox review was they should have just gone fishing only in the summer. Like, why are you fishing in the winter, you know?
There's got to be a reason for that, though, right?
No, save all your fishing for the summer.
But what if, like, that area only has fish in the winter, and, like, that's when
get those summer
season
fish.
Is?
You got to eat those summer fish. Get those winter fish.
What do you know about fish law?
Oh, I know a lot about fish law. Okay, are we ready to dig into this?
Yeah.
All right, let's set the scene. We find ourselves at a fishing outpost, isolated in an Arctic bay. I don't think it's ever specifically said, like, where they are.
Yeah.
But they are in an Arctic bay, somewhere in the Arctic bay. And we are told that it's a 3-day mountain journey to the nearest village, which I believe they say has been closed, or, like, it's snowed over. But they do talk about going this way later, and maybe that's just out of desperation. But they're 3 days away by land from anywhere. And the inlet of the bay is made of treacherous, jagged rocks called the Teeth, which we learn later claimed the life of Eva's husband. Or is it Eva or Ava?
Ava.
Yeah, one of them.
Ava?
Yeah.
So her husband, Magnus, died the previous winter because of the Teeth. So they're basically shut in, like we were talking about earlier with those movies. They can't go anywhere. Yeah,
it's kind of like another one we didn't mention earlier, but kind of like the lighthouse, where it's almost like this is your
good one.
Post. Yeah. This is your post for 6 months or whatever, 3 months, 4 months, whatever.
Right.
Like, you're going out to this location, you're going to be there, you're not going to leave. You have to either catch fish and live, or not catch enough and you're going to starve.
You're going to starve. Yeah.
And they kind of early on even talk about, like, in the past, we've had a rough time with catching enough fish, and we barely made it through, or some people didn't make it through. Like, so that's kind of in the air from the start.
Yes. So our protagonist is Eva. Ava. Damn it, I'm gonna be switching the whole episode.
Yeah.
She's a young widow who operates a winter fishing outpost that she inherited from her late husband. And she hosts a crew of fishermen led by helmsman Ragnar, who I loved. I loved that guy.
Great name. Great name.
Excellent name. Name fit for a god of fishing.
And when we first meet all these people, well, it's the start is kind of bleak, but we don't know exactly what's happening because we see Ava looking at like where stuff should be, but there's nothing there. But then when we meet the crew, they're inside singing sea shanties and having a good time. And we also meet Helga, who is the outpost Nordic charwoman, which is a term I learned, which is a woman who does chores and serves drinks and food.
Yeah, I kind of wondered about the structure of all this. Like, how common was it for a woman to be in charge, like Ava is? You know,
so
because she's like the only woman.
I know about this.
Okay, yeah, please.
Yeah, let's go.
There is historical accuracy in this, where widows have a little bit more power than single women because they have been married once before, and they can also inherit property from their husbands.
Okay.
They might not be able to inherit any property from their family unless anything was like specifically bequeathed to them. So it was really interesting that she was kind of in this managerial position over these men because it was left to her, and that would make sense. And she is what you would call probably like a fishwife at that time. So somebody, the wife of a fisherman. So there's a historical reference for that for sure.
But yeah, and it's interesting too because the men like aren't really fighting. Like they are obeying her. Like nobody's trying to like grab power from her. Essentially, like she is the boss, and they all.
Yeah. Because they all have the woke mind virus.
Yeah, that's what this movie is about.
The woke mind virus gets everybody.
That 18th century woke mind virus.
They called it the Draugar back then.
Yeah. So we find out that they're out of food. They haven't been catching fish, and they're down to eating their bait. So as they go out to row one morning, they witness a large shipwreck upon the teeth, and a ship is sinking.
Yeah.
So we've already touched on this a little bit, but what would you guys do in this situation? Did they make the right choice to not go?
I mean, back then, because like it's not done with malice, you know, like in the movie, they talk about like, well, if we go out there, we might just crash too, you know, like it's not a cut and dry rescue mission, like
dangerous. And then what are we going to do with them when we get them?
Yeah.
Like, we barely have enough food for ourselves.
Yeah.
So
even if they do rescue them, they're kind of dooming them to starve to death, basically. Yeah. So no, I would never rescue anybody, I think is what I'm trying to say.
I agree.
I don't think I would do it either.
Yeah.
So Ragnar agrees with us, and he doesn't want to go, and he says, you know, I'm the law, and they say, no, it's up to Ava.
Yeah.
Because she owns this boat, basically, and she reluctantly agrees with him, but they decide not to fish that day. However, they will take the boat out later.
When I die, or if I die one day, I just ask that nobody fish that day. That's my only, that's going to be my will. I thought that's really nice. I think, yeah, the least you can do for me is just not fish.
Don't fish.
Just for a day. Come on, guys.
Fucking disrespectful. As Kim Kardashian says, don't be fucking rude.
Well, how awkward would it have been if they just went out fishing and then there's that boat over there sinking? Just pretending like you don't see it.
I don't know. Sucks to suck.
Doing that like puppet side eye. So a barrel of salted meats or some sort of cured meats washes up on the shore. Yeah, salt pork. And Ava is like, will more of this wash up to shore? And Ragnar basically says, no, if we want it, we have to go get it. And she's like, do we have time? It's like, yeah, but we'd have to go now. And she's like, let's go now.
Yeah.
And yeah, this I think, you're right, Evan, this is a bad decision, because they do go, and lo and behold, a bunch of the crew has made it onto the rocks and is still alive.
A really good sequence, I thought. Like a really spooky.
Really spooky.
This was really effective.
And no monsters, no nothing, just scared ass people on the rocks. And what are we going to do?
Clear
with
that
them?
it's not monsters. It's very at this point it is fully kind of grounded and just like, no, these are people, and the horror of it is the people that are so desperate to survive that they're willing to like literally drag you in your boat under almost to get saved. Yeah.
Well, and also when the boat's coming and it's silent, and then you just see a light on a person on the rocks, like their head poke out. Just the implication of what that means kind of is really devastating in a lot of ways and really horrifying.
Yeah. I really, big shipwrecks like that terrify me. And that kind of water everywhere thing freaks me out. And this film was also filmed on location in Iceland, I think, which is really awesome. And made it look so fucking good and also so desolate and scary that you would never ever want to be shipwrecked there. Like, that's like, everybody thinks of a shipwreck and they're like, cool Skull Island with blue water, but this kind of shipwreck is just scary as shit.
You can feel the cold in the movie. Yeah, you just like just imagine how cold it would be to be in the water. Yeah,
or wet on the rocks.
Yeah.
No one's having a good time.
No.
Yeah. So a bunch of the survivors jump into the freezing water. They begin swarming the boat, trying to get on. Ragnar is like, we need to leave because they're gonna capsize us, and we cannot take all of these people on the boat. The boat will sink. A big scuffle ensues, and Ragnar ends up getting hit off the boat. When I saw that happen, I couldn't quite tell if it was him, but I had a feeling that it was. And we do find out that he does get hit off the boat, and this is the end of Ragnar in the movie, which is sad because he was my favorite character. And he also seemed like he was kind of a better person to bounce stuff off of than Daniel.
Yeah,
just any of them.
Who ends up taking over.
Yeah, he's the one that knows everything.
He knew everything.
It's established that he's the one, the most senior member of the crew, and kind of knows the ropes, the most. So losing him is extra devastating for the crew out of anybody.
Yeah. And then a pivotal moment happens where Ava is grabbed by someone in the water, and Daniel hits them in the face with an oar.
Yeah.
And kills them. And I think that this is a pivotal moment because I think once we start talking about the ending, this is something that drives them both mad. That basically scars them.
Yeah, just kind of the trauma of it.
Yeah. It traumatizes them.
Yeah, just seeing that level of violence, because it is violent. Like, it's not just like...
Yeah, and
it's not like a
he just committed a murder.
Yeah, he committed a murder, and it's kind of like they went out for supplies, and all of that was for nothing. They got basically like
lamp oil
and brandy, and that's it.
And they lost a person. Yeah,
and they
not only
somebody.
They're worse off than they were by going out there. Yeah, and on top of that, they did and committed and saw this incredibly violent act where, like, literally there's like a cut really quick of like his face almost caving in.
Yeah,
when they hit him. It's like, it's really violent. Yeah, really disturbing. What worked for me in this movie was the mix of like very grounded, almost realistic terror, especially with body stuff, the way that people's bodies and the injuries they get and all that stuff is really effective because it feels real. Like, it feels gross.
Yeah, well, so right the next day the bodies start washing up, and we see an eel cut out of a dead man's stomach.
Yeah, well, his stomach starts like moving.
Which I thought was like kind of a cool homage to Alien in a folk movie. And I think we can see a lot of Ridley Scott's influence in this, just kind of how slimy and wet the movie is, sort of. The fish bait in the later scene is just so gross and slimy and gooey, and Ava gets snuck up on by a really wet, nasty dude.
Yeah,
Yes.
that eel seed was gross.
Yeah, because they
So
think it's
nasty.
like he's like still alive and he's coming back to
Right.
life, but it's an
Yeah.
eel inside of him. And that's also the part where one of them tries to steal a pocket watch.
Do they just have extra coffins lying around? Did you think about that immediately? Because like there's like a cut and there's like 4 or 5 like coffins.
You can whip up some coffins real quick.
Did they build?
maybe
Did they
they
have
had
like some
some
wood?
lumber.
laying
You
around?
know what I thought at the time? I think they made it out of the stuff from the ship that had washed up on the shore. I think. I don't know.
I don't know. It just made me laugh, the idea that they
had
like,
nails. We saw that they had
coffins.
nails.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just prefer a world where like they just had a bunch of coffins lying around just in case.
Just in case.
Like a real ominous, like you
Someone
show up on this
bites it
base,
this
like,
winter.
hey, you're gonna work here for 3 months. Don't worry about those 10 coffins in the corner. Hopefully, we don't need to use them.
This is our coffin room.
It's our coffin room. Don't worry about it. Hopefully,
It's fine. It's fine.
it's fine. It's fine. How tall are you, by the way?
This is where Helga cautions them that the bodies might come back as Draugar, which are basically evil zombies that drive you insane.
Had you guys heard about these before this movie? Because I had never
No.
heard of this concept, so I thought that was really cool.
I have.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
What did you hear about, and how did you hear about it?
My stupid ex-boyfriend. I'm
Oh, that's right.
you dated a Draugar? Is that?
Yeah,
I did date a
she
Draugar.
dated the fucking zombie.
Wow.
I had such bad nightmares. We're playing a game later where I say mythological beasts that are real or made up based on like Nordic and Icelandic creatures. And I think Hannah's going to have the advantage because of that X.
Yeah,
So I tried to not do all Nordic stuff.
Ones that she'd know. Okay.
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see.
Apparently, I like did a quick Goog for just the Draugars, and like they're in some video games apparently, right? Like,
oh sure, like The Witcher or something. Maybe.
Yeah, there's some video games like that where like, so I was like, okay, apparently there are creatures in that you may have heard of, but I'd never heard of it.
Yeah,
because I only play Mario, and they're not in that.
Luigi's Mansion 2, actually.
Well, those are Goose and Ghoulies, and they haven't gotten to Draugars yet.
So Helga tells them to do some superstitious stuff. Eva dismisses it. It's basically like, that's just superstition. And she selects Daniel as the new helmsman. And then she starts having nightmares.
Is this the part where she starts kind of seeing a figure too?
Yeah, seeing
like,
that like wet figure.
Really good sound design actually in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, he's a real
great sound design.
He's a real sloppy boy, that guy.
Yeah,
real sloppy.
Yeah. He's Snoopy sloppy.
Yeah.
And Helga basically explains Draugar and that the only way to get rid of them is to burn them. Daniel and Eva are really close to doing it.
Yeah, there's like a real sexual tension there.
There's a real sexual tension there.
Yeah, he like teaches her how to shoot a rifle.
Yeah, that scene is very sexually charged.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like the pottery scene in Ghost. Like he was
it
like
is
about
just
to,
like that.
Yeah, basically he was like, very like holding her arms and showing her how to pose, and they're like 2 seconds away from kissing.
Yeah.
And then this part is where I think hindsight is 2020, because this is where they end up catching tons of fish. And they're like, I think they like even found a spot, and they're like, tomorrow we're gonna get a bunch of fish again too. And one of the major reasons they didn't go out was because they're like, we can't support these people, we have no food. And now they have a ton of food. So I feel like that's kind of, part of the whole like devastation of it, is that, if you just you didn't do the wrong thing, but if you had done things differently, people might not have died. Unfortunately, the next morning, all their fish are gone.
Yeah.
And Helga is missing.
Yeah. Hate to see it. You hate when it happens.
When it happens.
It's a rough day when your fish go missing and Helga go missing at the same time.
And it's an inside job.
Yeah. Well, they start to, really accuse each other at this point.
Yeah.
Classic paranoid winter fashion. I feel like that's a trope in these isolated,
very isolated,
movies.
survival-y kind of movies. Yeah, where they all start to turn on each other. And so then you start to even, doubt the existence of the Draugar at all, right? Is it the Draugar that are turning them into enemies, or is it
hunger and paranoia
and
guilt? Yeah.
were the humans the monsters all along.
My God.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
So this is when they discover that one of the bodies is missing from the coffins.
Oh, yeah.
And then they I don't know if they do all the superstitious stuff, but they nail their feet to the bottom of the coffins.
Yeah.
I think they probably do it all.
They
probably do everything.
They nail the feet to the coffin, which is
and they
really
bind their hands behind them.
They bind their hands with rope.
Right.
And then my favorite one was that you have to like turn the coffin 3 times.
Yeah.
Which again just makes me laugh because it's like, what, you're just gonna get these zombies dizzy? Like, what are we?
Yeah.
Get them all real mixed up.
Get them dizzy.
They don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
They don't know if they're up or down.
Yeah.
Some dizzy zombies.
But yeah, then they start to open each coffin, and one of them is empty.
Mm-hmm. And then that night, one of the people goes crazy. Harkon. He attacks Daniel and almost chokes him to death, but Aaron bludgeons him in the head and kills him. So we're down another person.
Yeah. And again, the sound design is really great and just really
crunchy
and real wet. Like real wet sounds
wet.
Of that head being hit. Like it's not a cartoony or like movie bonk on the head where he's out in one hit. It's real violent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they go fishing the next day and they come back with Daniel, who has slipped and hit his head on the ice. And this is kind of Daniel never really recovers from this. So Eva patches him up. And then Eva and the 3 remaining men decide to go and hunt the Draugar in apparently a blizzard. I don't know why you would do that. Like,
basically a whiteout. Yeah, it's like basically
just not now. Yeah.
So Eva gets separated. She finds Schoolie, who in a really great shot just kind of like falls, like he doesn't throw himself off a cliff. He just kind of leans over and tips off the cliff. Yeah.
It's so snowy and so white that like you move any inch and like the people just disappear in the frame. It's
exactly.
You're like in a void essentially. Yeah.
And then she goes down to find his body, and she also finds the frozen body of Helga. Did they explain what Helga was doing out there, or we just left to
not really?
imagine?
But she's sitting straight up. Yeah, she's just kind of like frozen,
like praying or something.
Yeah. Did we mention that one of the guys is really Christian? Like, so there's kind of that tension too.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking of bringing that up. It seems like
Jonas
kind of
apparently is the Christian one. And he's kind of one not believing it, but also like, hey, if we pray to Jesus, essentially, like pray to the Christian God, you know, we'll get rid of this. This is all like satanic stuff almost. Like this is demons.
Yeah. So then they go back to the cabin, and they're down to what Eva, two of the men who went out, and Daniel starts attacking them and going crazy, and it looks like he's like about to attack Eva, but he stops himself and then he slits his own throat.
Yeah.
Ooh, God.
Which it was pretty great in my opinion.
Yeah.
And now we're basically at the climax of the movie. That night, Eva hears the Draugar above her. She's like in the fish room, and she hears the Draugar above her. She hides under the table, and there's I hate this in movies, but I love it. She puts her hand on glass.
Oh yeah,
and she like she can't make a sound, and you see her pull the glass out of her hand.
Yeah,
and it's like under her skin. Yeah, it's like under one layer of skin
jutting out from her skin.
Yeah,
so gross.
Yeah,
good effects in this.
Great effects
for a movie that probably didn't have a crazy budget. You know,
probably not. Yeah,
they used it well, I thought.
She tries to grab a knife, but is dragged out by the creature. She's able to grab her rifle and aims it at him. We see the creature, and Eva shoots him and then douses him in the cabin in oil and sets it on fire, which seems like the end. But she runs out to Aaron and Jonas, who are the only 2 other people left, telling them that she burned him, or that she's burning the Draugar, and it's
over. It's over. Okay, now we did it. Yeah,
we did it.
And then the movie flashes back 2 minutes to show us that scene again, to reveal that the Draugar isn't a creature, it's a human from the shipwreck, who is explaining that he's sorry that he stole their fish. And she's aiming the gun at him and he's begging for his life. The problem is she doesn't speak the same language as him, so she has no idea what he's saying.
Which is, by the way, Basque. He's speaking Basque.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, at first I thought it was like Portuguese maybe or something. It kind of sounded like that, but yeah, apparently it's this language Basque, which is from this one region of Spain.
Yeah, and it's very nebulous, the origins of that language. Very cool. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a cool little tidbit.
Yeah.
He's offering her the gold pocket watch, which is the same one we saw before, which she takes, and then she shoots him and burns him alive. And it ends with just a shot of her face watching the fire happen. So lots of questions with that ending.
Yeah.
Why did we see it two ways? Why do you think? Did she know what really happened, or did she see it the way it initially happened?
Yeah, that's why the ending kind of took it down a little for me, is because that was so unclear in a way but in a way where it wasn't ambiguous to me anymore.
Yeah.
Once they cut back, it's like, oh no, this is what really happened. But then the way she's kind of interacting with him, even though she doesn't understand the language, the impression I got was that she was almost lying about the monster, that she knew that it was a man.
Yeah.
And then so that kind of didn't work for me, where it's like, oh no, she's just evil, or just like,
did she kill everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were people just going insane, or were they actually like being possessed by some evil entity?
See, that's kind of was my question too. Was anything real? Because they were all being possessed by this kind of evil entity, right? Or was anything even, if we're being shown that he's just this Basque dude that was stealing things from their larders at the end, and she's screaming, I can't understand you, and she kills him, then I feel like what that twist is trying to say is that there was no Draugar there the entire time, and that everybody was just going crazy and turning against one another. But I just don't think the movie executed that well enough for that to be the ending, you know?
I think that's kind of what the movie leaves us with, but I think you could also make a very strong case that they were actually, like, being possessed by evil spirits. There just wasn't a zombie involved. But I think that is one of the biggest flaws with the movie, and I like an ambiguous ending, but I feel like it's a bit too... that doesn't make sense. They could have just cut it before that.
Or cut it in a different way where it's a little more ambiguous if it's a person or not. Like, because again, I like the idea, the theme of like, is this really happening, or is this just guilt and paranoia? Like, I like that. It's just the ending being the flashback to 2 minutes earlier and showing the scene again almost made it too clear for me, or made it seem like the movie was answering the question instead of leaving it ambiguous. And that's what didn't work for me at the end.
I feel like it could have left more breadcrumbs along the way if they were really, truly not evil spirits. Like, more food being stolen, their bait being stolen, footsteps in the snow, like things like that. But we're not shown any of that. We just are told that he's a man at the end.
Yeah, there wasn't like an aha moment. It was more like a WTF moment.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a Sixth Sense where at the end you're like, oh,
now everything makes sense.
It's been the whole movie.
Yeah, it was more like, oh, well, I guess that recontextualizes things, and I have lots of questions.
Yeah.
What happened to the body that disappears in the coffin?
Is that not him?
Is it him? Like, so
I don't
did they
know.
just was he just like was he
just like passed out?
Too
I guess, yeah. I don't know the answer, and I don't think the movie gives us an answer, but I think...
Is that what it's trying to say?
I think it's him.
Okay, that would make sense. It's just one of those where it's like, well, again, it's like, it doesn't fully make full sense, where it just raises more questions than it answers.
Yeah. Well, that's the movie. How about we take a little trip down to Hannah's costume corner?
Yeah.
Hey.
It's the theme.
Hannah's costume corner.
All right. Welcome to the costume corner. So Helen Beaumont did the costumes for this movie. I was not able to find any interviews with her or any little factoids about the costumes at all, but I will just show what I noticed or say what I noticed. Very, like I've said throughout this, very dark, what a fishwife would wear, kind of grays, blacks, things that would be easy, dyes at that time were hard to produce. So I think it would be easier to have, homespun yarn, which kind of leads me into the shawl that she was wearing. I think they used inspiration from Claire's shawl from Outlander for this. If you want to Google it, it's very similar. There's a lot of people who, I don't know, and my knitter friends, my knit group friends are some of them are into Outlander and have made this particular shawl. It's a shawl that kind of crosses over.
Yeah, the crisscross. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And, but again, this coming off of the heels of Nosferatu, it didn't look hand knit, it did look machine knit. The detail that I think Robert Eggers would put into his costumes, this production probably didn't have the budget to support. So, but I think that they were very good. That shawl that crisscrosses across her chest is over another crocheted shawl, which is very cool. I think that was a nice little nod. Maybe she had made them herself. It's fishermen wearing what looks like very weathered canvas or oilcloth tied with ropes. Nice little detail there. Everything just being very kind of dark and gray looking, I thought fit the tone very well. I also did love the hair. The loopy braids were wonderful, beautiful, and pretty accurate to maybe what a Scandinavian lady would wear at the time. So I enjoyed the costumes a lot.
Do you have any concept, Hannah, or do you know around this time how much clothing would one person have? Would you have one outfit?
Clothing was more expensive, much more expensive. So one outfit would be, God, I watched a TikTok about this, and it was saying that one outfit would be the equivalent of at that time was $15 to $17, which was a lot of money. So you would have maybe 3 to 5 outfits that you would rotate and mix and match. And then there would be some outfits that you would use specifically for things. So like a walking suit. And if you had less money, which obviously Ava does, you would make a lot of your own stuff. And some of it, if you made it for children, would be unraveled and then made in a bigger size.
So was sewing basically a mandatory skill?
Yeah, knitting wasn't a skill until Queen. Yeah, it was a given that you would do it, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah, it
was work until Queen Victoria popularized fiber arts.
Oh wow! Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow! Thank you, Hannah.
You're welcome.
Now let's talk about some Muppets and let's recast this movie.
Let's do it,
Evan.
Yeah.
I want to hear your Muppet recasting.
Yeah, let's get some Muppets in here. So let's start with our main character, Ava. So obviously, as always, the biggest problem.
Miss Piggy.
Yeah, but so
Miss Piggy.
The Miss Piggy problem.
I'm gonna swerve. No, okay. But I'm gonna swerve because obviously Piggy is the main female Muppet. Janice is number 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think either of them fit Ava. Or honestly, Helga either. We'll talk about the women. So I've swerved a little. For me, Ava mostly gave off Gonzo vibes. Just kind of a little more meek, a little more soft, just a little more working hard and figuring it out. So I said Gonzo should be Ava for me.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it too. Don't hate it.
Then the motion passes. Thank you.
I mean, the motion has not passed. I have said that Helga was Gonzo just because.
Okay.
The most Gonzo that I've seen was in the Muppet Christmas Carol, and he like told the story.
Yeah.
So like
that makes sense.
For him, like kind of telling the story, I thought was like, or giving exposition, thought was appropriate.
Do you have a Helga, Matt? If not, I have one.
Miss Piggy.
That's Piggy for you. Okay, I can see that of the two female characters. Again,
Janice I had as
Eva.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, of the two, it's Janice more. But for me, for Helga, and this is mostly for the comedy of it all, I'm gonna go Swedish Chef. Mostly because I think it would be,
that's perfect.
Yeah,
it would be really funny to have him do all the info dump / lore dump. Like it would be
just like 2 minutes straight of that.
Yeah, just that. Yeah, that
and then them asking like sincere
camera
questions.
Pan around.
And everybody's attention. Yeah.
It made the movie a little better for me when I was imagining when she was doing that speech. To imagine it was Swedish Chef giving it. So yeah, that's Swedish Chef for me. For Ragnar, we got stern, very, authoritative. This is where I'm plugging in Sam the Eagle.
Yep,
same. Kind of, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or like deep voice, very serious, very to the point guy. Hannah, do you have any?
I said Rolf the dog, but now that you guys both said Sam the Eagle, I feel like I want to change
Ralph
my answer.
too. Yeah, no, Ralph's very sincere.
They both work.
Yeah. And I feel like we don't get Ralph in there enough the last couple weeks, so I like Ralph too.
Yeah.
Okay, we got, let's see, Jonas, the Christian guy. Do you guys have anybody for the nice
don't have
Christian
anybody
boy?
for Jonas.
Oh,
okay.
Skeeter.
Skeeter, yeah, or Scooter, yeah.
Scooter, sorry.
Yeah. I did at first say Scooter, but then I thought Walter from the Muppets movie, the later ones with Jason Segel.
Oh, good
Walter,
one. Yeah, that works.
And I just think he's maybe the most Christian Muppet. I have nothing to back that up, but if there's one Muppet that reads the Bible, I think it's Walter.
He almost feels Mormon-y.
Yeah, just yeah.
I was thinking Scully was Scooter.
Yeah, there's a couple of like kind of like small guys. The other kind of small guy, the young guy in the team, Aaron, who kind of reminded me of a mix between that actor Skylar, I forget his last name, but like from the Vacation movie. Maybe it's just because I watched.
Oh, sure.
And Rice's Gemstones, yeah, he kind of had that face. But for him, I cast Robin, who is Kermit's nephew.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm putting him in there. Daniel, the main guy, that's where I put Kermit. Maybe sacrilegiously, because now Kermit's going to be flirting with Gonzo, but I think it still works.
Oh, I think that totally works.
I think it still works.
Are you saying that's not canon?
I think Kermit's willing to go there and show Gonzo how to use a gun.
I did say Kermit for Daniel too.
Yeah, just again, like kind of the main guy, good guy.
Yeah.
Then I don't know if I missed any, but then my last one, Harkin. That's where I'm putting Sweetums.
I said Hakon was Camilla, the chicken.
Oh, the chicken. Yeah, I do like that too. I'm always happy to put a gibberish speaking Muppet into a movie. It's always a good time to put
good addition.
A Muppet that doesn't speak English. Oh, and I forgot to do it, but who would you cast as the Draugar / maybe person?
Oh.
I forgot to...
Beaker.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And then,
and I don't understand you. That works.
Yeah.
Actually, that's good. Okay. Yeah, I think that's canon. That the character is Beaker. And he's like in the shadows a lot, and then like, so you just see his shape, and then he steps forward, and it's Beaker with his like big pencil head. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with that.
And that's the Muppets.
All right, and to end the episode, I want to give you guys a brief quiz called Really Scary or Made by a Fairy. So I will be giving you Nordic monsters. I'll give you their name and a brief description of what they are, and you have to tell me if it's really scary, a real creature, or made by a fairy, made up by me with help from looking up things on the internet.
Great.
Okay.
And I'm not going to cheat, to be clear. I'm not going to look up anything.
No, I'm looking up
I'm an
nothing.
honest person. Yeah.
I was assuming you weren't going to cheat the whole time
Okay,
until you said that.
More suspicious that I said that. Okay. Forget I said it.
Okay, so first we have Draugar, a Norse version of an undead creature or zombie.
That's made by a fairy, baby.
That's really scary.
No, that's really scary. That one.
Yeah.
was
Hannah
from
gets the point. I have to take your first answer. I'm sorry.
It was a joke.
You.
I watched it. I promise.
One for me, baby.
All right. All right, we'll see how this turns out and if you get that point or not at the end of this.
Okay.
Nidhogg, the terror of corpses, a mighty terrifying serpent hundreds of feet long with a scaly hide so tough no blade can pierce it.
I'm going to say that one's really scary. That sounds like I feel like blade work is real, like a Nordic legend. That sounds like something that the Nordic people would be worried about, is a skin that you couldn't pierce with a blade.
I'm gonna say it was made by a fairy. It sounds like Nidhogg is a funny sounding name.
That is really scary.
Yes.
Oh, damn!
Ooh,
So that's 1 point for Evan. So you're tied up.
He's typing. This one's fake because he's typing it. As
Oh my god.
he's thinking.
This one's fake 'cause he's okay, so the next one is Myrkvaerger, a shadowy wall of mist that stalks land and sea, swallowing everything in its path and leaving only silence behind.
Oh.
Made by a fairy.
I'll say real. This one. I'll say real.
It is made by a fairy.
I
Oh.
knew it!
Okay.
I know you're writing, Matthew.
Yeah.
The next one, Frostmaw, a towering ice beast that lures travelers into blizzards with the sound of a child crying only to devour them whole.
Is the word frost actually from the Nordic languages? That's the question.
Ma is an old English word, which is from...
It means Olivia.
Yeah, like...
What's her... No, never mind.
Diversity is an old wooden ship.
I believe it's an old wooden ship.
Well, Ma is like an English word, so...
All right,
yeah.
I'm going to need some answers.
It's also the horror
it's
movie we're gonna
made up
cover
by a
next.
fairy.
Okay, Evan,
Yeah, that one's made up.
you're both correct.
Yeah.
All right.
Rataskor, a squirrel that is mischievous and enjoys stirring up trouble.
I want to say made up and a Pokemon. Sorry.
Yeah. Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Okay, Evan says made up. Hannah, made by a fairy.
I say also made up by a fairy. Yeah.
That is real.
No.
Oh, way.
I might have said the name a little bit
No,
wrong.
say it again. Say it again.
Rataskor.
Wow.
Ratatoskor.
No,
Nope,
it's fine,
it's
yeah.
not sayable. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
pronounceable. It's not
Ooh.
pronounceable.
We're done.
Are there some umlauts in there? Tell me there's some umlauts in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Tons of little dots and dashes.
Dots and dashes.
So no points there.
Oh.
Stenvat, a rock-like giant that guards treasure.
Oh.
Sounds super Russian.
I mean, that just might be how I'm pronouncing it. There are some umlauts in there, so.
Hannah, you have to go first this time.
Okay.
Sorry, keep going first.
I'm gonna say that it is real. Really scary.
That fake. I'm gonna say made by a fairy.
Evan gets the point.
Yeah.
Okay. Huldufolk. Elves that look and behave similarly to humans but live in a parallel world.
Oh God.
I want to say real.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that one's real.
That one is really scary.
Yeah.
We're all tied up, folks. Fjartalf, A prankster elf said to hide in outhouses.
He just pokes your asshole. Doink doink.
Got you in the pooper.
Got you in the pooper. Evan, I think Hannah went first last time.
Okay, I'm gonna say this one's made by a fairy.
I'm gonna say really scary because it would be funny if that's true.
Yeah.
Evan gets the point.
Oh shit!
No, but I have bought the rights to it, and I will make that movie.
It's literally just fart elf. Fjart elf. Fjart elf. Okay, Fossagrimen. I'm just gonna say all things like the Swedish Chef.
That's
Fossagrimen. A water spirit and creature who plays the fiddle with incredible talent.
Plays the fiddle. Made by a fairy.
I'm gonna say really scary, but the fiddle is fake. There's no such thing as a fiddle. Is that the...
You're saying like half and half. You can't do that.
Okay, no, I'm gonna say real. I'm gonna say real.
Okay, Evan, you get the point.
Yeah, pull it ahead.
You're pulling ahead.
God damn it!
So we have two left. Huldra. An incredibly beautiful and seductive creature that looks like a woman, but with the long tail of a cow and a back covered in bark.
Oh my god.
Of all the tail, like I don't think of cow tails a lot, you know?
Yeah, I
guess.
don't know. This seems really folksy.
Yeah.
No. Matt. I don't like how much Matt is laughing.
Hannah, you go first, and I'll pick the opposite.
Really scary.
Okay, I'll say made by a fairy.
Hannah gets a point.
All right, got it.
This is for all the marbles.
Okay.
Ooh, shit. Skeljaskrimsley. Crimsley. Skeljaskrimsley. I'm sorry. A monster that looks like a hippo and can spit burning poison at fishermen.
What the fuck?
Did they wait?
Mushrooms?
All right.
Yeah.
Game point.
This was made by a fairy.
I'll say made by a fairy. Yeah, they didn't know what hippos were.
Yeah.
Well, you're both incorrect, which means that Evan wins.
No, fuck.
They knew what hippos were?
I guess.
That man for all those years.
Yeah, this was where it was going to pay off.
Oh, I don't know nothing.
Well, thanks everybody.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, because I was going to end the show.
I was going to say that I was dating the same person that Hannah was. That's my secret.
Oh, no.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Yeah,
yeah, they were just paying closer attention.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everybody for listening. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Scary Fairies, a podcast where three fairies discuss scary movies. You can write to the fairies at scaryfairiespod@gmail.com. Tell us what you think of the show, or ask us a question and we may read it on air. You can find the fairies on Instagram at Scary Fairies Pod. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please share this episode with others who may be interested in listening to the Scary Fairies discuss scary movies. See you next week in the forest.